Welcome, Florent to Metaladium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Kakothanasy, this new album Metagonism, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking how are you doing today, and how is the band during the last couple years? Because your previous album was released 6 years ago.
Well, first thing off, thank you very much for having us here. I'm really happy to be answering to your webzine because I've been looking at it. It didn't look sick. I'm doing good. A little bit tired, but otherwise doing good. And yeah, it's been a long time since the previous record. We've been working our asses off for this one, 6 years of work. So we finally really happy to be releasing this stuff right now.
Hmm. Okay. So now I think the next question will be the most common one because this Distomorph was released in 2019. Then obviously I remember I hear your music when your EP Paradoxy died. So in this one, but there is like a time frame, so more like 5 years. Then now 6 years to release the second album. So why the band is taking so long to release all the time an EP, a new album, etc.
The main thing was for us to find a full lineup who actually works well together.
Mm-hmm.
The two main guys behind the projects was me and Lionel, the guitarist. We've been together for 15 years now. So
Okay.
we've always been working together, but we had a really hard time finding singers and bassists, basically, mostly the bassists. So for Paradox side, we had a singer who was actually not so involved music in general. He was really not into complex structure, not into this style as much as we were. So he basically left the band. Then we found somebody else, Boris from Amagordis, the brutal death metal band from Switzerland. He joined us for Distomorph, but he also had to leave after that. So we had to find somebody who was into brutal death, who loved complex structures, who liked to write sick shits and stuff. And we found Leo 5 years ago, our bassist and singer as well. So now we finally found the team. We finally are the trio that we were supposed to be, and it works really well together, all the three of us. So that's why now it took so long to write an album. It took those 6 years to write something that is, I think, better than what we did before. But now I think we're going to write stuff quicker than before because the team is now well oiled up and we really know each other really well. And now it really feels as a whole team, while before it was mostly like two guys finding a third to write something. And now the trio works well all together. So I think the next album will be quicker to do. And in live setting, we're also way better. Everything is tighter. We play, yeah. So I think we just had to find the team and now we have it. So that's it. That's why it took so long.
Okay. And related with this one, when you decide to start writing songs for Metagonism, it was during the process for the to find more members, or it was meanwhile you are or before of to find more members to the band.
No, we wrote. We started writing as soon as Leo joined the band. So we recruited Leo. He basically joined when the Stormorph was released. So we hadn't write any new song back then. So as soon as he joined the band, we started writing stuff. So he's been in the band for 5 years, and we started writing 5 years ago. So yeah, it took 5 years to write this album.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, talking about a little more about the reception of the new album because the album just is coming out more than a week now. So how it was the reception about this new album, the critics, the reviews, the comments of the people. This record takes me for surprise because I've just heard the band since the beginning. Then I love the first EP. Now I love the first album. Now this new album's a great beast. I did my pre-order from a Amputated Pain Records. I will arrive, I assume, from Japan. It's more like 2 months will arrive here, so in the other side of the world. So, and for this one, how it was the reception for this new album, and also, how do you take a bad review, for example?
Uh, Honestly, for now, there's been a few interviews like this one. I'm really grateful that people are reacting to this album. That we didn't have like any interviews or any critics a lot, like for Distomorph, just a few critics, a few reviews. But for now, all I've seen is really positive. Mostly, since I'm in the music scene, most people who wrote to me are people in the BDM scenes,
Mhm.
like guys from Futurity or even from Defeated Sanity. Since I know them, they wrote to me, they told me that they like the shit and all. And I really appreciated that some musicians out there in the BDM scene, since that's what we're doing, wrote to us and told us that they like what we do. But yeah, it's only been a week, so maybe some more reviews will come up. But yes, people are supporting, people are buying stuff. We also have a deal with Herati merch for the t-shirts, for their hoodies and stuff. So I'm glad to be working with some more bigger kind of merch dealer, like Amputated Veins as well. It's a bigger label than what we used to have because we used to be with Gold Grand Records in Lausanne, and now Amputated Veins is obviously something bigger. So everything is stepping up a bit. So yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that people enjoy the stuff. So let's see
Hmm.
what the future brings.
Great, great, great. Well, I remember when you are with God Grind Records, when this CD sold out so fast at that moment. I tried to find with you. I just purchased, but you told me by message. I remember that the CD sold out. So then I tried
Yeah.
to
Oh yeah. 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 No, you said yeah. Yeah.
I purchased with the God Grind. God Grind told me it's sold out. I need to find one another place. It was very difficult to find the first album.
Did
Well,
you find it
now
in the end?
yes, at the end I find. I didn't find. I have it.
Nice.
But
Thank you, man.
and this one. So now talking about now for your deal with Amputated Vein Records, because Amputated Vein Records is like a bigger label in Asia. For I'm talking about from the brutal death metal stuff. How it was your deal about to enter to this big label into the brutal death metal scene? Because Amputated, Comatose, New Standard Elite, and Severe Records are with the oldest brutal death metal stuff. Well, unique leader it was, but since Eric died, so there's more like deathcore technical this kind of stuff. So how it was your enter to your well, to this big one of the biggest labels on the brutal death metal scene?
Yeah. Basically, with Gold Grind, the guy from Gold Grind actually lives in my hometown in Lausanne. So we're
Mhm.
really good friends. So I told him after this Tomorph, I told him that Betagonism was going to be bigger. So I told him like, I need a bigger label. Let's try. He was like, yeah, yeah, fine, find something bigger. No worries, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
He's still going to release the vinyl version of Metagonism though. But for the CD, I wanted something slightly more wide known because Gold Grind is well known, but is more niche than like Computative Veins or NSE, which is NSE is like super famous right now. So I basically wrote to everyone. I wrote to Willow Tip, NSE, Amputated Veins. I even wrote to Comatose, I think. And I just looked for what they will answer to me. NSC was interested, amputated veins as well. And we chose amputated veins just because he answered quicker. And at the time, that's what I needed. And NSC came a little bit later. So I was like, uh, amputated veins is here. We already have a contract. We already have everything. So NSC came a little bit too late for us. And so the deal was really good. He printed like 1,000 CDs. We got 20%. That's really good because we will play live a lot. We already have a tour in the UK like next month, so I want a lot of CDs with me to sell to the people on live shows. So yeah, really good deal. Really easy to work with. So I'm glad. I'm glad to be working with him, and I think he sells worldwide, so he's
Mhm.
really well known. He's been here a long time, so for now we'll stick with him. For the vinyl version, because the vinyl versions or the LP versions will come out, it's gonna be Gold Grind Record and another label from France, Lixiviat Record, who will release the vinyl version of it. But it's gonna come later because yeah, the vinyl industry is a bit slow at the time, so the CD was ready, so we were just tell, let's go with the CD and the vinyl later on. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's it.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So now we're talking about more the concept of the metagonism, especially for the cover art, because the cover art is not like usual, mostly of brutal death metal bands, like Viscerals, like people, headache people, and this kind of. You can see you and during the golden age from the brutal death metal since the 1998 2010 with the slam more. You can see a lot of covers decapitating, raping, a lot of etc. But your metagonism has or obviously this tomorph and this metagonism has a different kind of approach with the brutal death metal. So for you, what's exactly how do you relate the cover art? Because I try to relate the cover art with the music. Is obviously the brutal death metal is so technical with the concept of the album metagonism.
Yeah. So for the I'll start with the cover art. So for the cover art, we've been working with Camille Roy de Rat. He's a guy from France. He usually makes only black metal stuff, really like medieval kind of thing.
Okay.
And we really thought back then that he already worked with us on Paradox Side, actually, the first EP. And back then, we just thought it would be fun to not have, like you said, like decapitated guys, this kind of stuff, which has been used and used and used and abused. So we were like trying to aim for something a little bit different. That's why we took him in the first place, and now we just work together because now we're friends, and every time we make an album, we make it with him. For the concept, we basically the idea behind Metagonism is a bit is it's mostly Lionel, the guitarist, who write the lyrics and the theme. It's the study of the pain and the suffering in a more universal concept, and like the idea behind it was like cosmically, there's only the suffering where there's life, so only on planets. So and planets are really small in the cosmic scale, you know. So there's just like tiny bit of suffering here and there, and it was the study of those little bit of suffering here and there, but not everything is suffering because most of it is basically void. So the idea behind the artwork was like to represent something more of a cosmic thing, and we wanted kind of a shape. We thought about an hypercube at first, but it was like almost impossible to draw. So he just made like this weird cosmical geographical form, and with some kind of suffering, if you will, on the edges, which represent like those planets being full of suffering and all. And we always aim for this like of cosmic image rather than just being, you know, on Earth with some people getting killed by whatever. So it was more this bigger cosmical thing. That's why we chose this artwork. And we told him the concept and he tried something, he tried different things and he came up with this and we were like, this just looks sick, so let's just keep it. And even though we don't really understand really well what we talk about, we don't think that that really matters. What matters is the music and the brutal death metal scene. So, but we just thought it was fun to have a bit of a weird concept to it instead of just gore stuff. That's why.
Mm,
There you go.
okay, okay. Now, well, comparing your previous album, obviously, Distomorph. At that moment, it was my like the brutal death metal from the 90s. You are continue doing this one, this brutal death metal influenced by this Gore, Dead Flesh, the great bands, etc. So for this one, but now with Metagonism, I just found more influence. Like Defeat Sanity is one of the biggest influence in this music. So, but with these kind of things, I saw that you are trying to do more technical stuff, especially because obviously the brutal death metal, it was since the beginning, it was so technical. I don't know, sometimes I don't understand why the people say that Suffocation is a brutal technical death metal band when I will not remember the for the first demo, first album for FG Forgotten I hear at that moment. For me it was brutal death metal, not technical death metal, etc. I don't know.
I
So
agree.
and for this one, how do you label now the concept of the Kakothanasy? Because mostly people were I know that someone put that your music will be brutal technical death metal, not brutal death metal.
It's weird because I actually saw it like the other day. I think it
Mm,
was on rateyourmusic.com. I was just checking what the reviews, what the people were rating the album and all. And it was written technical death metal and was like, this is not technical death metal. This is just
mm,
brutal death metal. So it
mm,
took me a little bit by surprise because I think it's just plain brutal death metal. But sure, the structure a little bit
mm.
technical, I guess. But like for me, technical death metal represents more like those, how to say that?
Archspire. or necrophagy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this kind of stuff. You get it. Like those leads, a lot of leads. We have no leads. There's no guitar
Mhm,
leads in the whole album. Like
mhm,
we that's not what we do. So we're only about riffs, grooving, and fucking shit up with the structure. So for me,
mhm,
that's plain BDM. Like I don't really call Defeated Sanity technical in any way.
mhm,
And they are, well, obviously they're technical because it requires technique. But for me, the technical death metal thing is, as you said, is these Arcspire, I guess. Yeah, Necrophagist, Obscura, all this kind of vibe. So for me, it's plain brutal death metal. We are obviously inspired by Defeated Sanity, Disgorge. They remain our two main things, especially Defeated. So yeah, a lot of people are calling us the Defeated Sanity from Switzerland around here. I don't know if that's true because we try not to just copy what they do. We try to get influenced by their ideas of shaking things up structurally. But I take this as a compliment, so yeah,
mhm.
I'll go with it. But yeah, no, it's plain brutal death metal. Don't call it technical death metal, guys. It's just brutal death.
Yeah, well, for me, it is the same. And with this question, well, I remember that I asked a lot of brutal death metal musicians about this one because for me, there is a confusion, especially for new people or the reviewers. Because I was there during the 90s when Broken Hope, Cryptopsy, Mortician, and Suffocation, the first four bands, brutal death metal bands from the 90s, appears in the world. I was there, and when I hear for the first demo from Mortician, they put it brutal death metal, Suffocation, brutal death metal. And just I remember the only one band that it was put technical death metal in the 90s, it was Demilich from
Ah,
Finland. The
okay.
only one that I saw in the media, in the papers, or in the magazines. I saw that what the bigger technical death metal man when his feet is it was Demilich. The only one that I saw that at the moment. But now
Interesting.
there's a concept that related. Defeat Sanity now plays brutal technical death metal. Nile plays brutal technical death metal. Suffocation plays brutal technical death metal, and more bands
Mhm.
that I know since the beginning that plays brutal death metal. So, how, why do you think the people is trying to or struggle with this concept of the technical death metal when all the time the brutal death metal was so technical since the beginning? You can hear Blasphemy, Madness, Flesh, the Cryptopsy is so technical, but it's more brutal than technical. Obviously, the brutal death metal is so technical that you don't need to say this is brutal, technical, extreme,
Thank you. Yeah.
accelerated. I don't know, accelerated brutal metal. So I don't know. So what is your point of view about that? This concept that the people is trying to relate all the time the brutal death metal with the technical death metal.
Oh, it's an interesting question. Yeah, I liked what you just said. Like, brutal death metal is technical by nature, so
Mhm,
why should I mention it in the like? This is brutal death requires a lot of technicality anyway,
mhm,
so we would never say technical in the first place. For
mhm,
me, brutal death, there's this vibe that I think for me. Yeah, suffocation and disgorge created, especially disgorge with those big blasts of
mhm,
everything in eighth note together, those hammer blasting, those riffs that really grooves and plays everything together with a snare drum, and that's what for me this is the core, this is the foundation of what I call brutal death metal. Like for example, if you hear most bands in Indonesia, they really copy these styles of having the snares and kick, eighth note all
mhm,
around, hammer blast, riffs following everything. And for me, that's the fundamental of brutal death metal. That's so. Yeah, why now people are getting confused by the technical side of it? I don't really know. A lot of people have different labels for different bands, I guess. But for me, technical is really about this sphere where there are a lot of the guitar should shine, should have a lot of solos, should have a and yeah, I guess Nile, for example, could be called technical death metal a little bit, even though it's mostly brutal death metal.
mhm,
But like, I will never call Defeated Sanity technical death metal, even though it is. But for me, it's just brutal death, and the technicality comes from the nature of the brutality. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we should have more categories to it because now it's getting confusing because since the 90s there's so
mhm,
much, variation of it that it's hard to differentiate now, I think.
mhm.
But yeah. I wouldn't call ourselves technical, and I don't know. Yeah, for me it's just brutal death. But yeah, I think you just said it all. Brutal death is technical by nature, and we don't need to add it in the label altogether.
Okay, okay, okay. Now we're returning to the promotion of this. One before the promotion of this one. So for me, what exactly means Kakothanasy? Because I try to find more information about this
Yeah.
one and appears many concepts, but could be just I'm wrong for this one. So what exactly means Kakothanasy? And is a
Yeah.
special word? Is a fusion word? Or perhaps it's like a Klingon word? Who knows from the Star Trek? Who knows?
It's actually called. It comes from. It's a bit of a mistake,
Hmm.
but it comes from a real world. The real world was euthanasia, which means putting someone to death in a
Hmm.
soft way. Euthanasia.
Hmm.
The mistake comes from our friends because in France we say euthanasie.
Hmm.
Euthanasia, euthanasie is the same. But Utah means soft. So euthanasia is putting someone to death as softly as possible. When you make an euthanasia to some old people or pets, etc. Kako, in the other hand, when you use the prefix kako, it means the most catastrophic way. So kakothanasia means being put to death in the most catastrophic way. So it's just being put to death in the most horrific way.
Hmm.
So it's a mix of two words, but it could be a word if you want. It's just the inversion of euthanasia, basically.
Okay. Oh, okay, interesting, interesting. Well, now talking about the promotion of this metagonism. So what kind of promotion do you have for this metagonism? Perhaps you will embark in some tours. You mentioned that you will embark in tours in the UK, but perhaps you will embark in more tours, another tours, and perhaps full tours in Europe, and also perhaps your first steps here to Latin America. Who knows? Or Asia, because Asia is now receiving a lot of brutal death metal stuff for this one. So. And for this one, so what kind of plans do you have for the band, for this new album, or perhaps you're already working a new album? Who knows?
So we're not working on on a new album yet. We're working on defending this album live as possible. We now are with Butcher Booking, who is a friend of mine. He's the guitarist of Cenotaph,
Hmm.
and now he's booking most brutal death metal bands in Europe. He books Defeated Sanity, Gorgism, Putridity, all those bands they book shows with him, and now he books shows for us. So we have indeed a tour in the UK next month. We play 7 gigs with Pyrexia from New York, and we have a few other shows planned in Switzerland, especially. But the plan is to do more tours. The plan is to do more shows to defend this album as much as we can. We'd love, obviously, to play Latin America. We have a lot of friends in Colombia, especially. We toured with Carnivore de Prosopis 2 years ago. And they kept telling us, come to Colombia, come to Colombia." Honestly, I think they would be sick to come to Colombia and do a whole Latin America tour. And they've done that with Sinotap as well. So I'd love to bring Kako there. Or Asia, but for now I can't book that, and I need to check with my booker what he can do and what is financially viable for us if we can do it, if we can, how much money does that cost, if we can make it happen or not. But for now, where the focus will be playing as much gigs as possible. Absolutely.
Hmm. Okay, okay. So now with this question about talking about, especially from the Colombia, I remember well the bigger scene into the brutal death metal is U.S. since the beginning because they have the great bands. But now during the years, I recognize one of the brutal death metal stuff has like a bigger scenes. We are talking about especially from Colombia. This is the second country I think for the brutal death metal. They influence the world with the blast beats and
Yeah,
with this snare beat, with this snare especially. So this is a brutal. When you hear this that kind of snare, it's a brutal death metal influence from Colombia. Everyone
absolutely.
knows that one. And then the second country is Italy with Oro Penance, with Hideous Divinity, another kind of
Hmm.
stuff that Italy has like a personal sound into the brutal death metal. Then the rest of the countries follow the influence for these three countries around the world. That's completely normal. That's how it is the world now. But do you think that in the future, another scene into the brutal death metal will appear with a different sound, oh, not related with a Colombia, US, or Italian sound.
But I like to add the Indonesia scene because I think in Indonesia they have a lot of bands like all influenced by Jazza, the biggest one.
Mhm,
But if you do, you can check like Digging Up, Gorin Famous, Reduced, all those bands that have this really disgorge inspired sounds.
mhm,
Some people say they all have the same ideas and stuff. I don't think that's true. I think they have really they're really the specificity, their singularity in their sound. But you're right, like Colombia has this really sick signature. Italy, for me, it's a lesser thing that Colombia or
mhm,
Indonesia actually. Well, they have really good bands, like obviously Putridity, Indecent Excision, Disgustibus, but it's less of a scene, it seems for me, than Colombia. I don't know. Maybe it's just because they're friends and they are all neighbors basically, so I know them really well. So maybe it's more mythical, like Colombia is the bigger scene because it's so far from us. I don't know.
mhm,
And for a new scene, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it will happen, but it's hard to
mhm.
see that happening. I don't know. Honestly, no clue. Not in Switzerland, that's for sure. Here, brutal death metal scene is not existent at all. In France as well, it's nothing. Brutal death metal is not a thing in France, so it's not going to happen there. I can tell you. But who knows? Maybe elsewhere. We'll see.
Okay, okay. And when this topic that you said about the Switzerland, because Switzerland is well known for Hellhammer, for
Mm.
Celtic Frost, great bands that influence around the world. We can say that the two bands are like the mainstream bands in with came from the Switzerland, but then Switzerland doesn't have any or didn't have another huge band like Swedish has, like the Finland has, like the UK has, and other countries more. Just Hellhammer or Celtic Frost, but then Switzerland lost during the release to the death metal era, the black metal era, thrash metal, or more bands just appear with Celtic Frost, but then disappear completely from the world. Oh, we have a lot of bands, a new bands, but it's not bigger than the UK scene or the Finland scene or the Swedish scene. It's like Switzerland scene is more like you said it. It's more like disappear around the world about this into the metal scene. So for you, why a scene that created by Celtic Frost or Hellhammer that started a sound in the world because they created a lot, influenced a lot of people in the world. So then disappear in the world could be just the social things, the politic things there, or because I remember when I spoke with one musician from US that plays rock, progressive rock there. I can't remember the band. It's a progressive rock, and he told me that the people there is in Switzerland is too spoiled. They have a lot of money. There's not suffer. And I remember that I spoke with Thomas Gabriel from Celtic Frost or Hellhammer. They told me the better way to find a good music is when you don't have enough resources to do it. That's why this. That's when you try to create music, you need to fight, you need to struggle, a lot of things. But now the people is very different in Switzerland. They have a good economy, they have another things. That is the situation for the music. It's not needed like this suffer to create music. That's why he thinks that the situation is not is for this kind of situation that as you have a good economy, they you don't suffer about it to create music. You create music, but then left the music and you dedicate to another things. So for you, you are there. You are from Switzerland, which is the main reason now the Switzerland doesn't have another big band like say, Celtic Frogs or Hellhammer.
It's honestly a big question. It's true. We didn't have any big bands. The only big thing we have for ourselves in the death metal scene right now is big festivals. We
Mhm,
have like four different places, not in the French part of Switzerland, but in the German part of Switzerland. We have like Rock the Hell, Steinbock Festival, Conquering Basila, Slam Cult in Tune. There are a lot of promoters here, and I know that bands from everywhere loves to play in Switzerland because the promoters are really well organized and the festival are great, and there are a lot of people showing up and all. But as far as bands go, you're right. There's not much going on. I don't know if that's economically related. Like,
mhm,
I can tell that in Kakothanasy, we're not doing so well economically. Well, not everybody, at least, and but their main passion is music, and they just live for that. They don't really live for making money anyway.
Mhm,
So, like Leo is a sound engineer here, so he only lives to make music, produce music, play music. That doesn't bring a lot of music in, but he's really happy to do it. So, is it economically related? That's a good question.
mhm,
But the thing is, what you just said, like Swiss people are spoiled. I think that's true, especially for the music. There are a lot of festivals, even non-metal related. Like there are
mhm,
big festivals, and people don't really care about shows. They don't really care about music that much. They have a lot of music going on, but they're how to say that? It's just it's a small entertainment, and they go there and they have a drink and they pay $50, $60 a ticket to check 10 minutes of somebody they don't really care about, and I think the spoiled part of it is the
mhm,
thing is a thing in Switzerland. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's and death metal scene, especially in the French part of Switzerland, it's nothing. People don't even know that exists. Like, it's insane. So I don't think we will have another big band as Celtic Frost or Hellhammer. We still have Corona, which is pretty big trash band, but not as big, obviously.
mhm,
But yeah, I don't think it's not a really good cradle for metal at all in Switzerland. You better off in I don't know in other countries, U.S., Germany, Colombia, as you said, Italy.
mhm.
I don't really know why, yeah, but that's all I
Mm,
can say.
okay, okay. And one of the last questions from this one Florent, it is that I remember a bigger festival there, especially dedicated to all stuff from the brutal death metal, grindcore death metal. It was the Mountains of Death. Many
Of
people
course.
don't know about that one. But then, so for me, it was strange that so, since they, from one year to another, disappears completely from the world. But they have 4 or 5, no, since 2009 to 2013, they have a great season. I saw a lot of people in YouTube. They create, I remember, like the 3 DVDs for the whole presentation from the band. I got it because they put it free to download. That's an amazing thing at that moment. I saw a lot of bands, Warmer, Defeat Sanity, Suffocation, Rectal Smell, and the list going to continue for this one. So for you, what happened with this festival? That's amazing festival, but then disappeared completely from the world. And now we are with a lot of festivals in the world, and especially in Europe. In summertime, we have like the hundred festivals around Europe. And now, but Mountains of Death will. Do you know exactly? So perhaps you will return back anytime because it
No,
was
I
a
don't
huge
think.
festival for me, especially for a
Yeah,
total death metal fan. It was a
yeah.
huge one
It was the best festival I've ever been to.
in
Honestly, I've been
Europe.
there
For
like
me, in
yeah,
Europe.
yeah, in Europe, yeah, yeah, I guess in Europe, sorry. Um, but it was just so sick. Like I went there when I was just a teenager. I didn't know much about death metal at all back then, and I discovered so much stuff. Like for example, Defeated Sanity. The first time I saw them was at this festival, because my friend Boris was playing in Amargortis and he was opening for them. He told me, "You need to check that band." I was like, "What, that band?" And they just blew my mind. And there were so many good bands, and the the setting was also super sick because like you were at the end of some valley. You had like two mountains right and left, and you were at the very end of it. And yeah, there's so many bands, so many good bands were there. I'm almost sad because some editions I went there and I
Mhm.
just saw a few bands, and now I look back at all the bands that were playing. I'm like, shit, I missed that. Shit, I missed that too. I missed everything. I was just a teenager, and I didn't know all the bands back then, so I missed a lot. But from what I've heard, the guys behind the festival stopped because they've booked all the bands they loved, and they were like, "We've done it. We've booked everyone. We've booked all the bands. We've seen all the bands we wanted to see, and we're like, we've done." That's what I've heard. That might not be the true version, but
Mhm.
that's what I've heard from the last edition. They were like, "We done." So the now there's like a bit of taking over by Sonia and her team in
Mhm.
at the Rock the Hell, which is a big brutal death only festival in Switzerland. It's also in the mountains. The setting is also super sick. So I think she's kind of making it happen again. but it will never be like the Mountain of Death. That's gone for sure. It will never come back. But yeah, we had really a lot of time, a lot of good time over there. Did you go there
No,
or
no,
did?
no, 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 no.
Oh, okay,
I just saw the videos on YouTube,
okay,
but
okay,
it was
yeah,
amazing at that moment. And then
yeah,
I'm downloaded the three editions, the last three editions in
yeah.
DVD.
Yeah, cool, cool. Yeah, they also have those videos like with I don't remember the name, Lumbago Production, was it? With
Lumbago,
the
right?
video, yeah, that's it, yeah. And they all sound so well, they play so well, everybody's playing well, the crowd is sick, yeah. So yeah, this festival was that's where I discovered brutal of metal. That's my cradle for me. I come from this festival. Before that, I was in shitty metal, like well, other kind of metal, let's say. And then I discovered this festival and this style of music, and I was like, this is my life. From now on, this is my life. So thanks to them, because otherwise, yeah, otherwise I wouldn't be listening to this. That's for sure.
Great, great. Well, Florent, we arrived to the sad moment of this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me.
Absolutely.
This new album, Metagonism, it's a great album. As I said, I did my pre-order. I have arrived soon because
Thank
sometimes
you
from
so much,
Japan
man.
arrives in 2 or 3 months. During the pandemic, I remember I placed an order from Amputated, and they sent me 8 months later for this transition of the pandemic. It was a crazy one. So, and perhaps do you want to add something to your, well, obviously, to your Latin American fans and Metallica followers?
Honestly, we'd love to play in Latin America. You have the best scene in the world, so we are obviously inspired by the Latin American scene anyway. So one day, we'd love to come. We'll try to make it happen. I have some connections with the guy from what's his name? Amputated genitals and all. I don't remember his name, but
Daniel.
maybe we. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So maybe that can happen. But thank you anyway. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for the support, and I'm just glad you enjoy the music. So that's all that matters. Thank you very much.